Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is still the Spiritual Engagement Podcast. I'm Kim Wilkinson here with Sheila Shorten. And we took a little bit of a break and we are back and in a bit of a new way. Originally, the Spiritual Engagement Podcast was audio only. And now we are coming on video every second Sunday through YouTube. So Sheila, it's so nice to see you virtually again. The two of us haven't even connected really in quite some time because we were both away out of country. And so we're really just kind of catching up as we are sharing with you today. And this is exactly what we wanted to do today because it's been quite a while. We wanted to just share sort of what we've been up to, what's happening, maybe the direction we're going in. And I know that is going to bring up a whole variety of different topics that we can dive deeper into as we move forward. So Sheila, again, so nice to see you virtually, and I can't wait to see you in person. But I'm going to hand it over to you and just tell everybody what's been going on, anything you want to share.
So welcome back, Kim. I'm glad to see you back too. And I didn't know this was actually going to be on video. So that's okay. So that's cool. But I'm not looking too bad. So that's all right. And so it's nice to be doing this podcast again. I guess I don't know if we're calling it a podcast or a YouTube channel now. But lots has been going on for me since I've seen you. As some people know from our podcast, I did report on that I've got cancer, and that took me in a whole different direction in my life. So it took me in a place I can honestly say that was super dark, and I didn't have a lot of faith. I didn't have a lot of time for anything spiritual at that point in time because all I could do was face what was in front of me. And it was dark. And I think I have a new compassion for anyone and everything. It sort of changed me in a big way. And I think it changed me in an important way. I didn't have the capacity for empathy or the capacity for understanding of people that were sick. And I kind of always knew that, and I would try to find it inside myself, and I just never really had it. I could hear them and I could understand them, but I couldn't actually really feel and really be that empathetic person around that. So once I got sick and the darkness closed in on me, I had a new understanding of what that's about. And in that time, it's not a time for someone to come to you and say, oh, you have to meditate. Oh, you must go to this healer, or you must do this, or eat this food, or that's not a time when a person needs to hear that. In that darkness, in that space of what you're feeling, I think the real powerful thing that I learned is just to sit with the person, just to be in and listen with that person. And that was the most important thing for me. And in fact, I couldn't even be around a lot of people at that time. I had started a new job and I was just trying to function in that, learn that role. I had a lot of balls to in my court. So when that was happening, it was a time for me to be really self-reflective. And just to be home alone was the most important thing. Now, the darkness did set in, and I became very, I don't even know how to describe it, but I knew I had to face that darkness. I didn't know what it was, but it was something inside of me that needed to be faced. And so if you're ever wondering, what is it? What are these demons I have inside of me? I didn't actually have to figure it out each individually demon, what was in me, each trauma that was sitting there. It just sort of sat like a big darkness. And I thought, okay, I'm going to face this. I'm going to be in it because that's all I could do. There was no other choice. And so if it's anyone's wondering, how do you do that? Well, you don't have a choice. It's just what you do. And so I sat with that darkness and I actually moved through it. And it took a while because I actually had to have surgery. And with surgery comes a lot of different difficulties. I couldn't move very well. I remember when I got out of the hospital, you guys all know that yoga is very important to me. And I thought, okay, it's been a week. I've been out of the hospital. I was in the hospital for a week. I can now do some yoga, and I'll just do some really gentle yoga. So I rolled out my mat and I got on all fours and I thought, okay, I'm going to do some cat cow. And the pain was searing trying to do cat cow. And I thought, I can't even move. And so I didn't even have the comfort of my yoga. So I actually did a YouTube Google and I found a little video that was for after surgery yoga. And it was pretty much just breathing. And so that's what I found myself doing. So I played that little video every day until I could start to do more and more. And then probably about 3 or 4 weeks in, I thought, okay, I'm going to try some sun salutations. That hurts. Can't do that. But you know what? It didn't take long. And, it's been, I think, 2 or 3 months now. I'm doing the challenging yoga that I love to do. I'm doing my meditation and not feeling uncomfortable sitting there. So it's coming back. Like my life is coming back, but it's coming back in a way that I guess is different. And the one thing that I noticed is that I used to have a lot of really highs and lows. So I just came back from Mexico, and I would go to Mexico and I would just be in such a high in Mexico. I would feel everything. I would experience everything. And what I noticed in Mexico, I just got back. What I noticed this time was everything is more, I don't have such highs anymore. So I kind of miss that, but I don't miss those deep lows. So I feel like all of this has brought me to a place where I'm more at a even keel, I guess. Everything is much more from a balanced place. I used to try to use my yoga to balance me out because I realized I had a lot of trauma inside of me. And I was just trying to survive in this world and didn't even realize it until the cancer came. So sometimes you don't even know what you don't know until you're faced with it. So so that's what I've been up to. I've been discovering myself. I've been learning more about the truth of who we are. And I feel like now that I'm doing my sessions, so I'm still seeing clients. I have a full-time job, so I'm not seeing as many clients anymore. But I feel like those sessions are different. And the real difference that I think I've found is that I used to take it on a little. I used to have a responsibility for healing the person. And I really have none of that anymore. That is gone completely. The person arrives and I hold space for whatever we're going to do in that time. And then they take on the healing process. And I can tell you the sessions are way different. And I would suggest probably way more powerful, way more effective. So, we think that these challenging things come to us as something that's, oh my God, poor me. And really what I know without a doubt is that nothing is bad. There is nothing that is bad. And that might sound crazy or insane. I think Kim embraces that concept as well. But really, to look at every situation as an opportunity and something that is for us is something that I've been able to do since that time as well. So my cancer was not bad. My cancer was a gift. I still don't know where it's going to take me because it's an ongoing process. And I got a rare one. So that means that they don't know how to heal it. But I'm not worried about it for some reason. I'm just not concerned. I'm just at this even space. So nothing is bad. If it takes me into a better life, absolutely, I'm for it. If it takes me into death, absolutely, I'm for it. So there's no bad option for me as far as I understand it to be. So that's where I am. That's what I came to with the cancer. So not that I would ever wish anyone to take on cancer. Just like I say, when I lost everything, I would never wish for anyone to lose all their everything. That was something that I had to go through because I'm very hard-headed. I'm very stubborn to the messages. So this cancer didn't allow me to be stubborn. I didn't have a choice. I couldn't say, no, cancer, I don't want you, go away. I had to face it and I had to be in it. So there's a hard-headedness to me that I think maybe perhaps is gone now, I hope. And the lessons will become a little softer and a little easier for me. So yeah, that's my story for right now.
Wow, that's so powerful. And you brought up so many great things that I know we can talk about for many episodes, but there was a couple of things that stand out again is that, and we've mentioned this before, I believe, on this podcast about, everything happens for us, not to us. And when we can view it that way, I mean, then we open up the doors for possibility, right? And yeah, I was actually going to ask you, have your sessions changed? So that's interesting. I love that. And it feels like I get a sense that your whole experience of just life has changed. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's no going back. Once you know. And yeah, it's complicated, but yet it's super easy. And I was guided through the whole process. And as someone, I was talking to someone, and I said, it's like it came very fast and it left very fast.
Yes.
Like I was diagnosed and had the surgery, and then now I'm back to way better health than I was before, because had this crazy tumor inside of me. And I didn't even know it. And I was walking around super unhealthy and didn't even know it. And so, yeah, as fast as it came is as fast as it left.
Wow. And I don't know if you remember the detail of it, because we very rarely do, but before I left for Thailand, we did meet in person. We, Sheila and I often will exchange, services for each other. And we did like a hypnosis healing. And yeah, like it happened so fast. We were actually intending to just do some more past life exploration. And this channel just came through and said, no, we are clearing this right now. And I don't know if you remember, and I could go back and listen to the recording because I don't remember either, but it was such a powerful thing. Like it was like this message of, I don't know if I'd say a sense of urgency, but it was like, okay, it's that concept of like, shit or get off the pot, right? And I think this is the message for everybody. I mean, we've been going through this, whether you want to call it an awakening on the planet, for a while now, and we're still going through it. And it seems like this is the big general theme is about, it's time to let go, right? And it's time to release. It's time to stop holding on to all of the energies, because that's basically what it is that has been making us sick, right? And so many people have been getting sick, especially with different cancers recently. I mean, it's I see it's fascinating in the sense of just seeing it, it's happening on the planet. And as I mentioned, I was in Thailand, and I've noticed it there too. Throughout the travels, it was interesting to see how people are really dealing with discomfort. And then, like you said, we can resist it or we can learn to move through it, right? And I feel like I had a very similar but different experience than you. I feel like my trip, again, was full of so many opportunities to practice, but I also felt like it brought so much confirmation for me. I have felt for quite some time that I have done so much letting go. I think I've mentioned before, I don't seem to get the reactions or feel the stress that I used to in life. And it's so nice. And like you said, when you don't want to go back. And it was interesting because our whole retreat, within our group, individually, as a collective, and like I said, just with other people through our travels, you could see where these conflicts or opportunities were there. And it was all about letting go, right? Letting go of expectations, letting go of things that have happened, letting go of emotions. And for me, I think the after retreat was huge, because I continued to see that like right up until we came home. And I just want to share one story. I could share so many stories about the trip, but there's one in particular that is just such a cool story. And like I said, along the way, I was really noticing almost daily, things would be happening and I would realize, okay, I can let this affect me, or I can just stay in my joy. I mean, I'm in Thailand. I have nothing to complain about or get upset about, is my perception. But that's not always an easy perception when you're dealing with discomfort from environment or heat or food or other people, right? It can be very challenging when you're away from your comfort zone, away from home. So I got the opportunity to practice daily. Okay, here's this situation or this energy. I can allow it to impact me, or I can choose to just let it stay out there and I can stay in my joy and calmness and that sort of thing. And there were times when it was a lot of work, but I was able to do it. And the 3 days, I think, before we came home, I was in Chiang Mai and I went to one of my favorite temples. It's called Wat Chedi Luang. And the very first time I went to Thailand, I went to this temple, and there's been something about this temple ever since. It's very, very old. And I always have a different experience every time I go there. And I wanted to go there. I went by myself a couple of days before we came home, and I spent about 2 hours there. And I walked in, and it is this huge grounds with various temples on the ground. And there are these 2 extremely large trees. And I'm actually going to share my screen and show a picture of this tree because it is incredible. I'll keep talking while I do that. But this tree is hundreds, maybe thousands of years old. I'm going to just pull it up here. Okay, bear with me. So this is a picture of my daughter and I. So you can see how wide this tree is, first of all. You can see it, Sheila?
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, so it's this massive tree. And then it's so wide as well. Let me see if I can pull up another one. Or so tall, I mean. So there's me looking up at it. And one more picture, there's a sign.
The next picture of you looking up at it doesn't show up.
It doesn't. Okay, let me just do this. I will reshare that. This is the beauty of doing everything live and unedited. Bear with us, everyone. Okay, so here's the image of me looking up at it. It's just this beautiful tree. Can you see that one now, Sheila?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the last one is there is this sign. And it just shows a bit of the history on it. So if you can't read it, it says Tanyan Na Chiang Mai. It's a rubber tree, and it was planted there 1800 AD. So this tree has been there a long time. And for whatever reason, this is the first time ever, and all the times I've been to that temple, I thought I'm going to sit under this tree and I'm going to kind of meditate and maybe journal. And there's people walking around, but I just wasn't even fazed by it. But I went around to the backside and I sat down and I leaned against this tree, and there's roots coming out. And I just put my hands on the base of the tree that was coming out. And it was incredible how fast things started coming through. And I brought my notepad out because I had to write them down. I got the downloads, messages, and imagery that I have spent a lot of time under that tree in past lives, which was really cool. I got the message that it was very important for me to write, to journal. And I go through phases with this, but I was told this is how I will recall a lot of the wisdom. And I was told, listen with all your senses, stay connected to the heart. Don't think, just do. And it was interesting because later when I went to a one-day meditation with a monk, and that was something that he said, don't think, just do. And it told me, you are wise, you have the wisdom, it has been gained over many lifetimes. The more you write, the more you will remember. And then I sat there and I asked this tree if it would provide me with some of its energy to purify my body, mind, and soul. And what I heard the tree say was, I will shed some of my bark for you. And something hit my head. And I opened my eyes, and all of a sudden, it seriously rained bark down on me. It literally said it was going to shed its bark for me, and it did it. Like just plop, plop, plop. I was like, what? It was like raining bark. And so I have several of these pieces, and I thanked the tree. I actually made an offering to the tree as well. I put some money and did an offering. But just, I mean, to have this bark provided by the tree from this tree that is hundreds, thousands of years old is just unbelievable. And so I meditate with this now. And, but it was just unbelievable how fast the messaging came. And then from there, I continued to the different parts of the temple and did some more journaling and whatnot. But it's just amazing what is happening, or the opportunities that are happening for us energetically and spiritually right now. And I have so many stories that I could share, but I wanted to share that one because I thought for me, it was the most special for me. And I am going to be sharing a lot more through our podcast and through some other events I'm doing, a free masterclass and some other programs. But I think we can all agree this planet is changing right now. And we are being, I don't like to say we're being forced, but we're really being guided into this fork in the road, I think, where we're either going this way or we're going that way. And there's no just pausing and waiting here anymore. It's like we need to make a decision, and we need to make it now. And I think we're seeing this all over. Like I said, I noticed it in other tourists. I noticed in locals here. We're seeing it back home. And it can be viewed, I think, as very messy and very scary, but I feel like it's all for good purpose. I feel like we need to go through it. I feel like it's going to get a little bit more uncomfortable before it gets comfortable, but I think we're in very exciting times. And I think the biggest lesson that I learned, and that I'm coming back and intending to teach and share with everybody, is those teachings of the Buddha. I guess what I realized is I've been practicing a lot of that, maybe unconsciously, for I think the last couple of years. And we've talked about how, letting go. And you did the channel where the guide said, the reason I am where I am is because of my acceptance of my circumstances, right? And that is such a big teaching of the Buddha, the letting go and acceptance and non-attachment. And the more I practice that, the more I feel this inner peace, the more I feel in control of my life and my experience. And that doesn't mean that everything's roses and unicorns and rainbows around me, because it's not. I live in the same world, but my experience has changed so drastically. I really feel like nothing bothers me anymore. And it's the most amazing feeling. Stuff will still come up and test, but I'm realizing that I can totally control if I let that come in and change my internal environment, or if I hold my ground with where I am and just leave it out there. And I think you get that. But I just feel like it's become a lot more consistent now. Before it was kind of maybe ebbs and flows of that, but I feel like I'm in that and I've been staying in it. And it's so powerful.
I love that story so much. I think what that story does is it represents a knowing. It represents the truth. Now, some people would say, oh, that bark just happened to fall at that moment. We have that kind of skeptical side of us. But to me, what that says is, once you open yourself up to the opportunity to be in tune to everything, to be open to all of it, it's available to you. That connection with the tree was available to you. You were not faking your connection to that tree. You were actually literally connecting and being awake to that tree. And so the tree was able to be awake to you. Now, can the tree do that for everyone? Absolutely. Everyone could have that experience, but are we awake to the tree? So that's kind of where we're looking to get ourselves to be awake to everything, to be available to all of it. So sitting in the tree, you weren't judging the tree for being old and wrinkled. You were noticing the beauty of the tree. For me, I'm not noticing the disease of others, or that they're not perfect, or they're not this or they're not that. Since I've got cancer, I'm not noticing that. I'm just present to what they are in that moment and who they are in that moment. And that's my gift to myself. That gives me the ease of not sitting in judgment, because if any of you have sat in judgment, you know the discomfort of it. It doesn't line up with who we are. Our heart is sitting under the tree, connected. That is who we are. And that experience that you had represents absolutely the ability for us to live like that, to live free, like you did in that moment. So it's not even like you're just living in that moment free. You're living free very, very much at the time now. That's where you've gotten yourself to. And when I say you've gotten yourself to, it's something that I think what happens with us as humans, and I can speak from my own experience, is we don't like to look at the sides of ourselves that isn't comfortable. We don't like to look at the sides of us that is mean or arrogant or judgmental or insecure, any of those things. Even if I'm speaking, to my girlfriend, sometimes I'll say, well, that's a situation where you showed up insecure. She doesn't like that word because that word makes her look weak, and she doesn't want to face that word. And I think, Kim, what you've done is you've faced all of it. You faced your insecurities, and that's really what the work is all about, is being open to all of it, to say, you know what, I'm not perfect, but I am perfect. And that's when you arrive under the tree and you're connected. So, I think that is the gift of our healing. That is the gift of our knowing. And when we wake up to the fact that anything that we carry that doesn't serve us, that brings us into that place of judgment, that place of unkindness, any of those places that we go to is not our true nature. Those are things that we have learned. Those are things that we've taught ourselves. Those are things that we have absorbed on our planet. And those are things that we can let go of.
It's interesting. And I love the couple of words that stood out for me that you just said is, it's not our nature. And I think the truth, we are nature, right? We are nature, but we have gone so far from being connected to nature. We are so caught up in, and this is why I love going to Thailand, because it's just a different way of living life there, right? And so different from Western world. And I realize every time I go there how crazy we are here, and how we're so not present, in so much stress, and it's no wonder we're all sick. But I think what I've really finally embodied is, just being present, right? Not worrying about anything until there's a need to worry about it, right? It's something even simple like when my daughter and I were out one day, I dropped my phone hard and the screen was like all cracked. And I wasn't even upset, because part of me thought, well, it's probably just my screen protector, but maybe it's my screen, but it was just this, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it if it is broken. So I just picked it up. I didn't have any discomfort, and I carried on with whatever we were doing. I can't remember what it was. And then when we got back to the room, it was just the screen protector. I happened to have another one, put it on, all good, right? But I could have let it ruin my whole day, but I didn't. And that is just such a game changer. So just to be able to be so present, but I noticed, because I saw it in other people, how easily we can worry about something that hasn't even happened, or something that maybe has happened, but we have no control over it. And the amount of energy we give to it is crazy when you think about it, right? So yeah, again, being able to let go or accept, and not let it pull you into that place of suffering, but to be able to come back to nature, right? And I think that was one of the teachings, when I went and did this one day with the monk, which is amazing. I mean, I've done meditation for 10 years, but just to listen to the teachings again and to hear them in a new way, right? One of the things we talked about was this difference between knowledge and wisdom. And I think sometimes people could think, well, they're the same thing, right? But he explained it in a way that I even understood it, or maybe became more wise to it. Because knowledge, I mean, you can know anything. You can know something because you read about it in a book. You can know something because you saw it on YouTube or TikTok. But to have the wisdom means you have to have experienced it yourself firsthand, right? That's completely different. To know something and to be wise to it, when you look at it that way, is so different, right? And I think for many people on this planet, people confuse that, right? Knowledge isn't necessarily truth. And one of the things I love that he talked about is there isn't necessarily one truth, right? What's true for you may not be true for me. Because either maybe you've experienced it and I haven't, or we've experienced it in different ways. I don't know if that makes any sense. It does to me. But to experience something is to be wise about it. And that has stuck with me. I don't know, like, if that brings up anything for you, or if you can relate to that.
Well, the thing that comes up for me is the way that I'm doing my healings and my work is from a place of wisdom rather from a place of knowledge. So allowing the healing to take place in a way that's it's not something that comes from me knowing what should happen or understanding what should happen. It's coming from a place where we just allow the situation to open up to what it is. There's no trying, there's no adding any element of it's going to go this way and this is what we're going to do next and next. It's really a process of letting it unfold.
Yeah.
And the wisdom doesn't necessarily come from me. It comes from the person that's desiring the healing. It's coming from the person that desires to know more and to move through something. So then I become wise because I understand what they've learned and gained. And it becomes a whole different process. Rather than you being the guru and you know all, you come into a space of wisdom with both. You're both creating a space of wisdom.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up specific to healers as well. I think we both agree, and I have related to this to a long time, and I'm sure you have too, where we are not the healers, right? We do and offer a lot of different healing. I've always thought of it as I maybe create a space or an environment that is conducive to healing. But at the end of the day, each individual person is responsible for their own healing, growth, transformation, whatever it is, right? It's
Yeah.
like I or you or anybody can share the knowledge, the tools, the resources, the wisdom, but it's up to that person to, first of all, be open to it, and then to actually implement it or embody it, right? And then I think when you have two people working together intentionally from the same place, it's even that much more powerful, right? And that's, I'm sure, why you and I, when we get together and we do work with each other, it's so powerful because we are both coming from that place of, surrender and love and intention, and then the magic happens. Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
like that saying, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink, right? I can't heal someone. You can't heal someone. A person has to heal themselves. We can just create environment and opportunity, and that's all we can do.
And
Not to
even
minimize that. It's a lot, but
I think it's important to remind ourselves and remind everyone that when we say healing, it's suggesting that some people say that suggests that something's wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with anyone. You might have trauma within you. You might have situations that you've absorbed and are creating patterns of behavior. But in healing, we mean that you get an opportunity to look at those patterns. You get an opportunity to see that and allow that to soften and allow that to with awakening, with understanding is awakening. So
yeah, absolutely. I think too, and maybe I'm starting to look as healing more as growth.
Yeah.
Healing is like a constant improvement, right? And I actually made a post on Facebook this morning just about impermanence, right? And that's again another teaching of the Buddha. Like everything is always changing. Nothing in this universe will ever stay consistent. Nothing, right? And but so many people fear change or are resistant to change. And so I think of healing as just this constant evolving or improving or expanding. Yeah. And so if you're not doing that, yeah, I mean, you're settling or you're stuck. I mean, we should always be learning and changing, right? And sometimes that even means changing our beliefs. I remember,
Mhm.
I think maybe we even played it on an old podcast. There's a YouTube video. Gosh, what is her name now? I'm going to have to look it up, but it's a TED Talk, I think, where she talks about, she basically changed her belief. She was a doctor or a psychologist, and she used to teach, this is the truth, or this is the way. And then she did this talk where she came on and said, you know what? I was wrong. I've changed my belief on that. And that is a hard thing to do. Nobody wants to admit they were wrong, right? But when you think about it, that's growth. That's expansion. That is exactly what we need and want. Kelly something. I'll find it. It's a good video. But yeah, I think we should always be changing and growing. That's what we're supposed to do here. Right. Yeah. There is so many topics that we can pull from this episode today for more of our, and yeah, I don't know what we call it, a podcast. It's still the Spiritual Engagement Podcast. And we obviously miscommunicated. Sheila forgot, or I forgot to remind her we're doing video, but we are doing video. We are video all the time now. Rather than being on the Apple Podcast and Spotify and that sort of thing, we are going to be on YouTube. We still have our Facebook page, the Spiritual Engagement Podcast page. We'll be posting the link to the videos there. They're going to come out every second Sunday, starting this Sunday, which is April 22nd, I believe.
Don't know.
This
Have
is
no
how
idea.
we roll. We just go with it. So we hope you will continue to follow us and join us and also engage. It's called the Spiritual Engagement Podcast because we want engagement. We want to hear your feedback or thoughts on things we're talking about. We want to know what else you want us to talk about. We've got a list from today already of so much that we can talk about. We did just want to come on today and just kind of update you as to where we're at, what we've been going through. Sheila, I don't know if there's anything else you want to share before we wrap up today.
No, I'm just happy you're home, and I'm happy that we're healthy, and it's just nice to be doing this again and just offering our own crazy paths. And it's wonderful to share with our viewers their crazy paths. So if they have any insight or any of their stories they want to share, we'd love to hear them.
Yes, if you want to be on an episode with us, contact Sheila or contact myself. We don't have a formal application form or anything. We just like to keep things simple and easy. So just reach out to us, and we'd love to have you on to share your stories, your magic, your wisdom, your knowledge. Until then, thank you everybody for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe. Also join the Facebook group if you're not already in there, and let's move through this year together and learn together and grow together. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks, Sheila, and we'll see you all soon.